It was my childhood dream to have a skateboard ramp in my backyard. Unfortunately, my parents didn't share that same dream, so they quickly vetoed that idea. But no worries. In adulthood, I officially one-upped that dream by moving in right next door to a skate park. Yeah, check it out. My name is Rob, and the backstory is that my wife and I were having some renovations done at our house, and we decided to move out for a little bit to avoid the construction chaos. Normally, this would be a tremendous inconvenience, but it just so happens that the house that we were moving into is right next door to one of the biggest and arguably best concrete skate parks in New Jersey. Needless to say, I was pretty excited about this. I had some pretty high expectations for this arrangement. Number one, I figured that I would be skating all the time, every day, multiple times a day. I figured if I even had so much as 15 free minutes, I could zip over there and get a couple grinds in. Why not? Number two, that I would get to skate to the skate park, which sounds super cool and amazing. And three, I thought this would just be a really great opportunity for progression and just to become a better skater overall. We lived there for about 4 months before eventually moving back home, and we've been back home for about a year now, but I'm still thinking about it. I thought that it would be pretty fun to put together a little video about my experience, but specifically talking about the pros and cons of living at the skate park, as well as the expectations versus reality. Let me give you a brief tour of the park. The skate park is 7 Presidents Skate Park in Long Branch, New Jersey. This park is broken up into 2 different sections. The original older section and then a newer section that they added a few years ago. The older side of the park has a few interesting features. There's this funky quarter pipe that kind of looks like an art installation, and there's an older style concrete bowl. There's a bunch of street stuff there as well. On the newer side of the park, there's a larger flow bowl. This is where I spent most of my time. This thing has a lot of different elements like a spine, a volcano, some extensions, lots of elements that I don't have at my own home park, so I found that this bowl was challenging and interesting to ride. Alright, let's talk about the pros and the cons of living next to the skate park. The biggest pro is that, obviously, if you can eliminate your commute to the skate park, you can do a whole lot less driving and a whole lot more skating, so you really get more bang for your buck. I think this is particularly valuable for the older skater, so if you have a family, or a significant other, or a spouse, it can be kind of hard to get out of the house to go skate sometimes.
No, that's not true! The spouse lets him go whenever he wants, don't believe it!
Another nice pro of living next to the skate park is if you live within line of sight of the skate park, you can simply look out the window and gauge the crowd before you even go over there. So if the bowl is full of scooter kids or there's a skate camp or something like that, you can just keep your eye on it and skate when the crowd dies down a bit. Another pro to living right next to the skate park is having close proximity to your home shower. If you have a really hot and sweaty session, you don't have to get in your car and have that uncomfortable, sloppy car ride home. Yeah, that's a pretty nice one. I think the last big pro of living at the skate park, and this is kind of a nerdy one, but I just liked being by the skate park. It was cool to look out the window every morning and see the skate park there. Even walking the dog at night, I always made it a point to walk past the skate park because it just looks kind of cool at night. The moon shines off the coping and it's, like I said, it's nerdy, but it made me feel good because I thought about past sessions that I had had there, and it made me anticipate future sessions that I would have there and the tricks that I would try and things like that. So it was just a good vibe having it around. about cons? I think the biggest con to living at the skate park is that it made me a lazy skater. If my buddies were getting together for a session somewhere, I was a lot less likely to want to leave my house to join them because I already had a skate park right next door. It wasn't that I didn't want to skate with my buddies, I just didn't want to give up the convenience. I know you're probably expecting the noise to be one of the cons of living next to the skate park. Actually, it wasn't noisy at all. We could hear it every now and then, but it wasn't overbearing, and I think the reason for that is that it's a concrete skate park. Prefab skate parks with hollow ramps tend to be very noisy, but riding on concrete doesn't make a whole lot of noise. So if you're on a town council or something like that and you're trying to build a quiet skate park for your community, go concrete. It's a lot quieter, it's going to last a lot longer, it's better for skating anyway, so it's a win-win. Okay, let's talk about expectations versus reality. I went into this with some pretty lofty expectations, so how did it pan out? My biggest expectation was that I was going to be skating all the time, so did that actually happen? I would say yes and no. I definitely skated more often than normal, but I didn't skate every day, and definitely not multiple times a day, unless I was trying to learn a certain trick and I was really motivated. I found that I just didn't need to skate that much, which is good because I have other hobbies and I have other adult responsibilities that I still need to take care of. I did skate a lot more often than usual. Normally at home, I'll skate on weekends only, so 1 or 2 times a weekend. Living next to the skate park, I was skating probably 3 to 4 times a week, which is a pretty substantial increase. The reason for that is that I was able to squeeze in a lot more sessions that I don't normally get to do. On weekdays after work, I could run over to the park before dinner or even after dinner for a quick session. On those days when it looked like it was going to rain, I could also run over to the park to get in a little skate before the rain started. So yes, I skated way more often than usual, but I just didn't need to skate as often as I thought that I did. Now, one of the things that I was excited about was the prospect of skating to the skate park. Right? That sounds pretty cool. The only problem is that I would have to go around the block to get to the entrance, and that pavement is incredibly rough. So it was possible to do it, it just wasn't really practical because it wasn't comfortable to ride on that pavement. What I ended up doing was riding my bike to the skate park, which ended up being faster anyway. Instead of taking 5 or 6 minutes by skateboard, I could get to the skate park in 2 minutes on a bike. It wasn't exactly as cool as skating to the skate park, but hey, it's hard to complain about a 2-minute commute. That brings me to expectation number 3, that this would be a tremendous opportunity for progression. That one is absolutely true. Overall, I think I improved tremendously over those 4 months. I decided that instead of just stacking up new tricks, it would probably be a better use of my time to work on my basics. At home, when I'm only skating once or twice a week, I'm not normally that motivated to work on my basics. It kind of reminds me of being a musician and having to work on your scales. You know that it's good for you, you know it'll make you a better musician, but it's not that much fun. It's kind of the same thing for skateboarding. If you're only skating once or twice a week, chances are you probably just want to skate and enjoy yourself. But because I was skating more often, I didn't mind carving off a little bit of time to work on those basics. A good example is my front side slash. Up until this point, when I would grind, I would be looking in the direction that I was headed. So, grinding blindly. So I trained myself, instead of looking away, to look back at my back foot and guide the grind across the coping. That gave me a lot more confidence with the trick. The other thing that took a lot of time was getting used to skating that particular bowl. This bowl has a lot of different elements in it that my home park doesn't have. I spent a lot of time not only learning to flow around the bowl, but to use those particular elements. A great example is that spine. I was completely terrified of the spine, and any time that I would skate the bowl, I would completely avoid it. After a few weeks, I realized that I was avoiding it and started dabbling with it a little bit, doing some slashes on it, and eventually got up the courage to try transferring. That spine ended up being probably my favorite element in that whole entire bowl. Same goes for the volcano. I wasn't quite sure how to skate this thing at first, and to be honest with you, I was kind of intimidated by it. But I set the goal for myself to go up and over and down the other side in some fashion. I started by doing some things like rock to fakie and tail stall on it, and eventually I was able to work my way up and get over it, like rocking over, sliding into a tail drop, and eventually land on the top and then roll in on the other side. It was really just a lot of experimentation and gradually pushing the boundaries of what I was comfortable with. Best of all, I was able to take some of those new tricks and techniques that I had learned with me to other skate parks. Things like spine transfers and airs over the hip. Would I have progressed like this if I didn't live next to the skate park? Yeah, probably. I'm sure eventually I would have learned these things, but I think the ease of access and getting to skate more often is what really accelerated the process. After 4 months, our construction was finally complete, which was a relief, but it was bittersweet. I was happy to be moving back home, but I really enjoyed living next to the skate park. It was an amazing opportunity. That was a pretty special time in my life, one that I'm not going to forget anytime soon. With that said, I'm going to send you out with a montage of some of my favorite moments living next to the skate park.